Imagine a choice laid before you, to continue carrying the weight of your weaker self or to cast it aside forever. This is the self that makes excuses, that cowers in fear, that surrenders before the finish line. It has no place in the vibrant life you are destined to live. To cling to it is to be dragged down, but to release it is to unlock true strength, unwavering confidence, and genuine freedom. Your time is now. Do not let it slip away. You might believe that who you are today is the ultimate version of yourself, but this is a tragic error. Life has never asked you to freeze in your current form. Instead, it calls upon you to evolve, stretch beyond your limits, to grow. This growth is not a privilege reserved for the gifted. It is a duty you owe to yourself and to the generations that will follow. How do you begin this transformation? By acknowledging that the weaker version of you is not the real you. It is merely a shadow, a hesitant whisper against the roaring potential within you. Imagine an acorn refusing to become an oak. What a waste. You are the oak, not the acorn. Every day you remain stagnant is a day you deny yourself the thrill of witnessing your true potential. Your comfort zone is nothing more than a gilded cage, promising safety but delivering mediocrity. True growth happens at the edge of discomfort, where uncertainty meets courage. When you push past what you thought were your limits, you discover they were merely suggestions, boundaries drawn by fear, not capability. Remember when you first learned to walk, you stumbled countless times, yet never concluded that walking was not for you. That childlike persistence, that refusal to accept limitation, still resides within you, waiting to be reclaimed. Your potential does not diminish with age. It expands with experience. Each challenge overcome adds to your arsenal of strength. Every failure teaches lessons that success never could. The universe has not finished writing your story. There are chapters yet unwritten, talents yet undiscovered, impacts yet unmade. To settle now would be to close the book prematurely. Look around at nature. Nothing remains static. Rivers carve through mountains, seeds burst through concrete, and stars explode to birth new galaxies. You are part of this ever-evolving cosmos, not exempt from its fundamental law of transformation. Reject the notion that you have peaked. Dismiss the voice that whispers, "Enough." Embrace the exhilarating truth that your greatest self lies ahead, not behind. What dream have you abandoned? What skill have you neglected? What truth have you avoided? These are not random questions, but signposts pointing toward your next evolution. Are you willing to live and die as a faded version of yourself, or will you rise with the fire of transformation and become the masterpiece you were born to be? The choice, my friend, is yours to make. But know this, you are not finished yet, not even close. Excuses are chains. You have built palaces of excuses, brick by brick, to protect your weaker self. But no fortress built on fear can save a soul meant to conquer. Excuses seduce you, whispering, "Not today, maybe later, I'm not ready." They masquerade as wisdom, but they are thieves, robbing you of your destiny. You must tear down that fortress with the hammer of action. Every time you hear the voice of excuse, act immediately in defiance. Do the thing you fear to do. Step boldly where you feel timid. These excuses promise comfort, but deliver stagnation. They promise protection, but ensure mediocrity. The mind is masterful at creating rational-sounding justifications for inaction. I'll start when conditions are perfect, you say, not realizing perfect conditions never arrive. Each excuse adds another link to the chain that binds you. I don't have enough time becomes a permanent condition rather than a temporary circumstance. I don't have the right connections becomes an immovable barrier rather than a challenge to overcome. I'm too old or I'm too young places artificial boundaries on potential that has no age limit. Consider how many dreams lie buried in the graveyard of someday. How many lives of quiet desperation are lived because excuses were embraced rather than exposed. The tragedy isn't in failing, it's in never attempting because you've convinced yourself the attempt isn't worth making. Consider Benjamin Franklin, who confronted his weaknesses by creating a personal system of virtues, disciplined daily. He did not hide behind "not today." He built greatness today, tomorrow, and the day after. He understood that excellence is built through consistent action, not occasional inspiration. Your freedom lies in destroying excuses before they destroy you. When the voice of resistance rises, recognize it not as truth, but as fear disguised as reason. The moment you feel reluctance is precisely when action becomes most valuable. Every champion, every innovator, every person of consequence has faced the same inner resistance you face now. What separates them is not talent or luck, but their refusal to negotiate with excuses. They act despite doubt, despite fear, despite imperfect circumstances. The most dangerous excuses are those that sound virtuous, waiting until you're more prepared, until you've learned more, until you've saved enough. These reasonable-sounding delays are still delays. Life does not pause while you prepare. It continues without you. Challenge yourself to live one day without a single excuse. Notice how different decisions emerge when "I can't" is removed from your vocabulary. Notice how capability expands when limitations are questioned rather than accepted. The chains of excuse tighten so gradually you barely notice their weight until they have immobilized you completely. Breaking free requires not gradual loosening but decisive shattering, the bold declaration that from this moment forward, results matter more than reasons. Look within. What excuse have you been nurturing as truth? Are you brave enough to cut it at the root and stand victorious? Whatever justification you've clung to, whatever rationalization has kept you comfortable but small, name it, face it, and demolish it. Your potential awaits on the other side of excuses. Your greatness lies beyond the wall of "I can't." Your destiny unfolds when you exchange explanations for executions. The chains that bind you are of your own making. The key that unlocks them is in your hand. Comfort is a coffin. It lulls you into a silent death. It is the poison that feels like honey but kills like venom. The weaker version of you is addicted to comfort, but you are called for conquest. Each step out of your comfort zone is a blow to the frailty within you. How can you destroy the addiction? Start small. Take the cold shower. Start the awkward conversation. Push 1 mile further than you think you can. Stretch yourself until discomfort becomes your new home, because greatness lives there. The human spirit was never designed for stagnation. Look at history's giants. They did not achieve immortality by nestling into routine. They clawed their way forward, bleeding if necessary, sacrificing comfort on the altar of achievement. Your muscles do not grow stronger without the burn of resistance. Your mind does not expand without the strain of challenge. Why then do you expect your character to develop while cushioned in ease? Comfort whispers seductive lies. You've earned a break. You deserve to relax. Why push when you can coast? These sweet deceptions mask a bitter truth. What you're really choosing is slow decay. The law of nature permits no middle ground. You're either growing or dying, advancing or retreating. Your ancestors did not have the luxury of comfort. They fought predators, survived winters, crossed oceans, and built civilizations, all while embracing discomfort as the price of survival. The comfort you cling to dishonors their struggle. It squanders the resilient DNA they fought to pass down to you. Consider Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times, never comfortable yet lit the world. He embraced discomfort, while others curled up in their beds of excuses. What if he had stopped at failure 100 or 1,000? The world would have waited longer for light. How many gifts are you withholding from the world because you refuse to endure temporary pain? The coffin of comfort has many chambers. The extra hour of sleep that dulls your edge. The easy conversation that avoids the important truth. Each seems harmless alone, yet together they embalm your potential, preserving you in a state of living death, physically present, but spiritually dormant. Break free, feel the exhilaration of voluntary hardship. When you choose discomfort deliberately, you reclaim power over your circumstances. The cold shower you dread becomes a victory before your day begins. The difficult conversation you avoid becomes a bridge to deeper connection. The extra mile when your body screams to stop becomes testimony to your unconquerable will. Comfort creates a life of what if, and if only. Discomfort forges a life of I did, and I became. Which narrative will you author? Which legacy will you leave? The pages are blank, waiting for your choice. Every significant human advancement, art, science, technology, philosophy, was born from discomfort. Someone somewhere decided that the status quo was insufficient. They endured ridicule, failed repeatedly, worked while others slept, and persisted when logic suggested surrender? Will you trade eternal greatness for momentary ease? When you lay your head down tonight, will you sleep knowing you killed a weakness today, or will you cling to the fading comfort of good enough? Your legacy demands an answer. The coffin of comfort awaits us all eventually. Until then, live so vibrantly, strive so mightily, and embrace discomfort so completely that when death finally comes, it recognizes you not as one who has been practicing for the grave, but as one who has lived fully until the very end. Desire without discipline is dead. You wish to achieve, so do millions. Desire alone is not your savior. It is merely the spark. Without discipline, desire burns out quickly, like a match in the wind. The stronger version of you lives in discipline, not desire. Discipline shows up after excitement fades. It drags you from bed when comfort begs you to stay. How to birth discipline. Anchor small daily wins to your deepest dream. Celebrate the consistency, not the intensity. The graveyard of potential is filled with brilliant minds who relied on passion alone. They began with fire in their eyes, hearts pounding with possibility, then vanished when the flame flickered. Desire is the lover that excites you. Discipline is the partner that sustains you. Both are necessary, but only one endures the winter seasons of achievement. Your desires change with the wind. Strong today, forgotten tomorrow. They rise and fall with external triggers. A motivational video, an inspiring conversation, a glimpse of someone else's success. But discipline stands unmoved by these temporary currents. It is the quiet force that continues when emotion has abandoned ship. The world rewards consistency above all else. Average efforts applied consistently demolish brilliant efforts applied sporadically. The writer who produces one page daily will author volumes while the occasional genius sits paralyzed by perfectionism. The athlete who trains in obscurity will outlast the naturally gifted, who practice only when inspired. Consider George Washington crossing the Delaware, frozen, exhausted, but disciplined. His discipline made him the father of a nation, not a fleeting burst of emotion. History does not remember those who felt strongly, but those who acted relentlessly. Understand this truth. Motivation is unreliable. It is the fair weather friend of achievement. It appears on sunny days and vanishes during storms. Building your future on motivation is constructing a castle on quicksand. Discipline is the bedrock beneath monuments that endure centuries. The myth of overnight success has destroyed more potential than failure ever could. Behind every sudden breakthrough lie thousands of invisible, disciplined hours. The musician who exploded onto the scene spent a decade practicing in empty rooms. The entrepreneur who struck gold endured years of setbacks and adjustments. You cannot surf on waves of motivation. You must walk on the foundation of discipline. The waves will come and go. The foundation remains. Let others chase feelings. You pursue consistency. Let others wait for perfect conditions. You create progress in any weather. Discipline begins with small commitments honored religiously. The alarm clock obeyed without negotiation. The promise to yourself kept when no one is watching. The workout completed without an audience. The temptation resisted when indulgence seems justified. Each small victory builds the muscle that carries you toward greatness. The undisciplined mind will bargain with itself, creating elaborate justifications for compromise. It will point to exhaustion, stress, or special circumstances as reasons to abandon today's commitment. The disciplined mind acknowledges these realities, but refuses to be governed by them. Your biological wiring seeks ease and pleasure. It is natural to resist discipline, but what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary is precisely this willingness to override biological defaults in service of a greater vision. Are your actions chained to fleeting moods or anchored to unshakable commitment? Your answer will reveal which version of yourself you are building and which one must be buried. Remember, desire points to the destination. Discipline delivers you there. Dreams without deadlines are merely fantasies. Ambition without action is just wishful thinking. Vision without consistent execution is delusion disguised as aspiration. Build your life on the bedrock of discipline and watch as desires transform into destiny. You must fire the old manager of your mind. Your mind has been managed by fear, laziness, and doubt. These are poor managers who have bankrupted greater men than you. If a business fails under poor leadership, It replaces the leader. So must you. How? Audit your thoughts. Eliminate everyone that does not serve your vision. Replace them with the voice of power, belief, and determination. Plant thoughts like seeds. Water them with action. Starve the weeds of doubt. The mind you inhabit today was not constructed by you alone. It was shaped by parents who transferred their fears, teachers who imposed their limitations, peers who projected their insecurities, and a society that profits from your self-doubt. You have been operating with inherited software, running programs you never consciously installed. Every thought that crosses your mental landscape either empowers or diminishes you. There is no neutral thinking. Each mental pattern either pulls you toward greatness or pushes you toward mediocrity. Yet how carelessly we monitor this constant stream. How passively we allow toxic thoughts squatting rights in our most precious real estate. Your thoughts create chemical reactions in your body. Doubt releases cortisol that weakens you. Confidence triggers dopamine and serotonin that strengthen you. This is not mystical philosophy, it is biological reality. The old manager is literally poisoning your system while promising to protect you. The resignation letter to your old mental management must be decisive and final. No severance package, no consulting role, no occasional visit. These saboteurs must be permanently removed from their positions of influence. Their whispers of you can't and you shouldn't and what will others think have no place in your new administration. Consider Abraham Lincoln, who battled doubt daily but managed his mind like a fortress of hope. His victory was not external first, it was internal. He faced more failure and rejection than most could endure. Yet he eased to let these experiences define his mental landscape. He evicted the tenants of despair and installed the infrastructure of resilience. Your new mental management requires vigilance. Thoughts will attempt to revert to familiar patterns, the path of least resistance. Just as a neglected garden returns to weeds, an unguarded mind drifts toward limitation. The difference between momentary success and lasting transformation is this vigilance. When you catch yourself in old thought patterns, don't waste energy in self-condemnation. Simply recognize the intruder, escort it firmly to the exit, and replace it immediately with its empowering counterpart. I can't do this becomes, I am finding a way. This is impossible transforms to this is challenging but solvable. I always fail shifts to I learn and improve with each attempt. So look closely. What old managers are still ruling your inner empire? Will you allow fear to bankrupt your dreams, or will you fire the cowards and hire courage as your new CEO? The battle for your destiny is waged first in the silent chambers of your mind, where no one witnesses the conflict but you. The restructuring of your mental corporation may be the hardest work you ever do. It requires confronting comfortable lies and embracing uncomfortable truths. It demands vigilance when you're tired and discipline when you're distracted. But no external achievement will ever compensate for this internal failure. Your mind is the soil. What you plant, you shall harvest. Choose wisely, for your future is standing by, waiting to be born. The world you experience tomorrow is being cultivated in the garden of your thoughts today. The old managers promised safety but delivered imprisonment. The new leadership promises nothing but possibility and delivers nothing less than freedom. You are not your failures. The weak self clings to past failures like trophies of defeat, but failure is not a reflection of your worth. It is simply tuition paid for wisdom. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the sum of what you choose to become after them. How do you sever this old identity? Begin by celebrating every learned, not every wound received. The human mind has a dangerous tendency toward fixation, attaching memories to emotions and replaying them as identity. I failed quickly becomes I am a failure. This subtle linguistic shift creates a prison of self-perception more confining than any physical cell. The bars are invisible but equally restrictive. Your mistakes, those moments of judgment clouded, of effort unrewarded, of vision unrealized, are events, not essence. They are data points, not definitions. They are what happened to you, not who you are. This distinction is not mere semantics. It is the gateway to your liberation. Consider how absurd it would be to define a vast landscape by a single patch of ground, or an entire ocean by one wave that crashed upon the shore. Yet how willingly we reduce our complex, limitless nature to our worst moments, our greatest disappointments, our most painful failures. Consider Henry Ford, who bankrupted himself multiple times before building an empire. Each fall taught him how to rise stronger, more determined, more unstoppable. Did history remember his bankruptcies, or did it remember the revolution in manufacturing he ultimately created? His failures were necessary ingredients in his success, not contradictions to it. The paradox of human achievement is that failure often serves as its foundation. The master became a master by failing more than the novice has even attempted. The innovation that changes the world emerges from a graveyard of attempts that didn't work. The unshakable confidence that inspires others is forged in the furnace of past inadequacies overcome. You must remember, failure is only fatal to those who surrender their will. Failure without reflection is wasted pain. Failure with reflection becomes education you could not have purchased elsewhere at any price. The question is not whether you will fail, this is inevitable for anyone attempting anything worthwhile, but whether you will extract the full value from each failure. Every time you review your past, ask, am I seeing graves or stepping stones? Am I conducting an autopsy, or am I mining for treasure? The same experience viewed through different lenses produces different realities. Choose to see through the lens of growth rather than the lens of shame. Your weak self mourns setbacks. Your strong self mines them for gold. Your weak self asks, why did this happen to me? Your strong self asks, how can this serve me? Your weak self seeks sympathy. Your strong self seeks strategy. Choose which self you will feed with your attention. The path to redemption begins with forgiveness, not seeking it from others, but granting it to yourself. Release the grip of perfectionism that makes failure unacceptable. Embrace the humility that makes failure instructive. Stand tall in the knowledge that your worst mistake is not the period at the end of your story, but merely a comma in a narrative still unfolding. So I ask you, what if every mistake you've made was setting you up for your greatest masterpiece? What if the depth of your falls is precisely what will give height to your eventual rise? What if the darkness you've walked through is exactly what qualifies you to lead others toward the light? You are not your failures. You are what you choose to become because of them. Identity must become a decision, not a discovery. Stop waiting to find yourself. Decide who you will become, then live accordingly. Identity is not hidden treasure, it is a structure you must build. Too many of us wander through life like explorers without a map, hoping to stumble upon our authentic selves hidden in some remote cave of circumstance. We wait for epiphanies that rarely come, for someone to tell us who we are, or for life to shape us into something meaningful. This passive approach leaves our potential dormant, wasting precious years adrift in uncertainty. Identity is not something you uncover, it is something you forge. The most extraordinary lives are built by those who chose their identity with deliberate intention, then aligned every action to manifest that vision. They understood a profound truth: you become what you consistently do. Begin by writing a declaration of the man or woman you choose to be. What values will you embody? What skills will you master? What impact will you have on others? This is not wishful thinking, but architectural planning. You are drafting blueprints for your future self. Read your declaration daily until it hardens into bone and blood, until your chosen identity becomes inseparable from your being. Consider Helen Keller, born both blind and deaf, yet who decided to see and hear through sheer will. She refused to let her circumstances dictate her identity. Instead, she declared herself a scholar, writer, and advocate. Her limitations became irrelevant in the face of her decision about who she would become. Her identity was not discovered beneath her disabilities, it was built despite them. When you act as if you already are who you aspire to become, your nervous system cannot distinguish between authentic confidence and its deliberate imitation. Eventually, the acting dissolves, leaving only genuine embodiment. The mask becomes the face. This approach demands courage, declaring "I am this," when all evidence suggests otherwise, feels like lying. Yet every great transformation begins with this necessary fiction. The marathon runner was once winded after a single mile. The confident speaker once trembled before an audience. The difference was their decision to identify as what they were not yet, and their willingness to live accordingly. Ask yourself, Will you drift like a leaf on currents of circumstance, or will you build like a master craftsman with clear intention? The former leaves your life to chance. The latter puts destiny in your hands. Your future self is determined not by what happens to you, but by what happens within you. The decisions you make about who you are each morning presents the same choice. Will you reinforce your chosen identity through deliberate action, or will you surrender to the inertia of your current self? The gap between who you are today and who you aspire to be tomorrow can only be bridged by decisions made today. Each small choice either expands or constrains your identity. Choose behaviors that align with your declaration, even when difficult, even when no one is watching. Are you ready to become intentional with your destiny? The moment you stop searching for yourself and start creating yourself is the moment your life transforms from accidental to purposeful. Your identity awaits not discovery, but decision. Pain is a passage, not a prison. The weak version of you fears pain and shrinks at its touch. But pain was never meant to imprison you. It was meant to purify you, to test if you are truly ready for greatness. Most of us instinctively flee from discomfort. We build elaborate lives designed to shield us from suffering, treating pain as the enemy. In doing so, we unwittingly construct our own prisons, safe, predictable spaces where growth becomes impossible. We fail to recognize that comfort is the jailer that keeps us from our potential. The strongest among us understand a counterintuitive truth. Pain is not a punishment, but a pathway. It is the narrow passage through which all transformation must travel. No meaningful growth has ever occurred in the absence of resistance. The butterfly struggles against the chrysalis, and this very struggle strengthens its wings for flight. Remove the struggle, and you cripple the creature. How can you make pain your ally? Embrace it deliberately. When your muscles burn during exercise, recognize this as the sensation of becoming stronger. When rejection stings, understand this is the price of putting yourself forward. When grief overwhelms, know this as the measure of how deeply you have loved. Pain is not happening to you, it is happening for you. When hardship strikes, smile and whisper to yourself, "This is making me." This simple reframing transforms suffering from something you endure to something you utilize. Pain becomes not your master, but your mentor, teaching lessons unavailable through any other medium. Consider Apostle Paul, who sang hymns in prison, building inner strength as his external world crumbled. Chained in a Roman cell, facing execution, he discovered a profound freedom that transcended his circumstances. His physical peccant became the backdrop for spiritual liberation. In his darkest hour, he demonstrated that external constraints cannot imprison an unshackled mind. The quality of your life is determined not by what happens to you, but by how you respond to what happens. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Between stimulus and response lies the power of interpretation, your ability to assign meaning to your experiences. Will you curse your trials or crown them? Will you treat difficulties as punishments or as initiations into greater wisdom? Every scar can be a medal if you choose to see it rightly. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs broken pottery with gold, highlighting rather than hiding the breaks. The finished piece becomes more valuable, more beautiful because of its damages. Your wounds can likewise become your most striking features when properly integrated into your story. Will you view your wounds as reasons to quit or badges earned on the battlefield of destiny? The former leads to bitterness, the latter leads to wisdom. Your hardships are not evidence that you are unworthy of success. They are evidence that you are being prepared for it. Pain asks a question. Will you become bitter or better? Will you allow suffering to diminish you or develop you? The answer determines whether pain becomes your prison or your passage. Remember, fire destroys or refines. The same flame that consumes wood purifies gold. The difference is not in the flame, but in the material. Decide today to be the kind of person who is refined, not consumed by life's inevitable fire. Goals without deadlines are dreams with no pulse. A weak man says, "Someday." A strong man says, "By this day." Dreams without deadlines wither into regrets. To breathe life into your aspirations, you must fix a date and marry it with obsession. The cemetery of human potential is filled with brilliance that never materialized, with novels never written, businesses never launched, and transformations never completed. What killed these possibilities? not lack of talent or opportunity, but the slow poison of indefinite timing. Someday is where ambitions go to die. The difference between the dreamers and the achievers is not the quality of their intentions, but the specificity of their commitments. Vague aspirations produce vague results. When you declare, "I will lose weight," without a target date, you've created nothing but a wish. But when you declare, "I will lose 15 pounds by June 1st, you've created a contract with yourself, one that demands immediate action. Choose one goal, not 3, not 5, not 10. The force of your focus diminishes with every additional target. Select the objective that, once accomplished, will create the greatest positive cascade in your life. Then set a bold but realistic deadline. Bold enough to demand your greatest effort, realistic enough to remain within the realm of possibility. This balance prevents both complacency and disillusionment. Then move heaven and earth to meet it. A deadline without corresponding intensity is merely a suggestion. Your level of obsession must match the magnitude of your goal. Reorganize your schedule, eliminate distractions, and redirect resources. Make your deadline so sacred that breaking it would feel like betraying your deepest self. Consider Napoleon Bonaparte, who set swift campaigns, not endless ones. His military genius wasn't just strategic brilliance, but temporal discipline. While his opponents planned extended conflicts, Napoleon understood the psychological power of compression, how urgency focuses the mind and intensifies action. He understood that the longer you wait, the weaker the vision grows. Time erodes enthusiasm. Motivation, like a fire, requires constant feeding, or it extinguishes. Your goals deserve urgency, because your life is not infinite. Each passing day represents opportunity that can never be reclaimed. The hard truth is that time respects neither your potential nor your intentions. Have you ever felt the subtle erosion of your grandest ambitions? The quiet whisper of someday, transforming vibrant dreams into faded whispers? Life moves forward with an absolute indifference to our unfulfilled potential. The truth is, without a deadline, our abstract aspirations remain forever floating in the realm of what could be, never descending into the workshop of what is becoming. A deadline is more than a date. It's a crucible. It births the very possibility of failure, and in that potent risk lies its hidden power. The easy comfort of indefinite timing breeds complacency, but the pressure of an approaching deadline ignites creativity and resourcefulness. So what is that one dream you've kept somedaying? When will you imbue it with your blood, sweat, and a date circled in red? The power to transform intention into reality awaits your answer. Choose your deadline not as a loose suggestion, but as an unbreakable covenant with your future self. Write it down. Announce it to someone who will hold you accountable. Then attack each day as if that deadline were a matter of life and death, because in the realm of your highest potential, it is precisely that. Your legacy will be determined not by what you plan to do someday, but by what you completed by the days you chose. We often underestimate how profoundly our environments shape us. Like water taking the shape of its container, you gradually conform to the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors of those with whom you spend the most time. This transformation occurs so subtly that you barely notice it happening, until one day you look in the mirror and wonder how you became who you are. The fundamental truth remains: you will never outperform your inner circle. The caliber of minds you regularly engage with establishes both your ceiling and your mediocrity. Mediocre associations create mediocre outcomes with mathematical precision. Excellence, likewise, begets excellence. Seek mentors. Join communities that ignite your ambition. Distance yourself from negativity. This isn't mere networking. It is strategic identity formation. Every relationship is an investment that yields returns, positive or negative. When you surround yourself with individuals who demand growth, who expect excellence, who refuse to settle, their standards silently become your own. Consider Andrew Carnegie, who surrounded himself with titans of industry before he became one himself. He understood that to achieve extraordinary success, he needed to inhabit the world of the extraordinary. By placing himself in proximity to greatness, he absorbed the mindsets, strategies, and perspectives that later enabled his own empire. He recognized what many miss success leaves clues, and those clues are often found in the company one keeps. Your associations are mirrors reflecting your future. The conversations you regularly participate in forecast your trajectory with startling accuracy. Listen carefully to the recurring themes in your social circles. Are they dominated by excuses or solutions, by complaints or creations, by fears or ambitions? These conversations aren't just passing exchanges, they are programming your subconscious mind. The physics of human development follows a simple law. You cannot help but be influenced by your surroundings. Just as a hot iron placed next to cold iron transfers heat until both reach equilibrium, your energy, drive, and vision will either elevate or descend to match your environment. This is not hypothesis. It is thermodynamics applied to human potential. Every handshake, every conversation, every influence either polishes or tarnishes your destiny. The casual lunch that inspires a breakthrough, the toxic colleague who normalizes mediocrity, the mentor who sees capability in you that you cannot yet recognize. None of these encounters leave you unchanged. This principle demands difficult decisions. Growth often requires separation, creating distance from those who, despite your history or affection for them, anchor you to lesser versions of yourself. This is not cold abandonment, but clear-eyed stewardship of your one irreplaceable life. So ask yourself, who is sharpening your sword and who is dulling your edge? Who challenges your limiting beliefs? Who celebrates your courage rather than feeding your fear? Who pursues excellence with such vigor that their very presence demands more from you? Will you climb with eagles or rot with pigeons? The choice seems obvious when stated so starkly, yet many choose comfort over growth, familiarity over potential. They sacrifice tomorrow's summit for today's security. Your future is literally determined by this decision. The company you keep. Choose wisely. Choose intentionally. Choose ambitiously. Seek those who have already traveled where you aim to go. Distance yourself from those who insist that your destination is impossible. Remember, you are always becoming more like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Make sure they deserve to be your future. The weaker version of you lives in constant fear, haunted by the questions, what will they think? What will they say? But fear of judgment is a cage you build with your own hands. Understand this. Those who mock, those who sneer, those who criticize, they are not your judges. They are merely spectators to your destiny. This insidious fear silently governs countless lives, ideas left unexpressed, dreams pursued half-heartedly, talents hidden from view, all sacrificed at the altar of others' opinions. The tragedy is not just in what you lose, but in what the world loses when you shrink yourself to avoid criticism. What paralyzes you is not the judgment itself, it's the meaning you assign to it. A stranger's disapproval becomes evidence of your inadequacy. A colleague's skepticism transforms into proof of your delusion. A family member's concern mutates into confirmation of your impending failure. But these interpretations exist only in your mind. How do you dismantle this fear? Expose it. Deliberately place yourself in situations where judgment is inevitable. Each exposure weakens its grip. Speak when your voice shakes. When you feel that familiar tightness in your throat, that flutter in your stomach, that is your signal to push forward, not retreat. The words may tremble, but they must be spoken. Stand tall when your knees buckle. Physical posture reflects and reinforces mental state. Straighten your spine in the face of criticism. Meet eyes that doubt you. The body you command sends signals to the mind you inhabit. Command, presence, and confidence follow. Act in spite of disapproval. This is where transformation occurs. When you execute your vision despite the chorus of naysayers, you prove to yourself that their opinions lack the power you once granted them. Each action taken against the current of consensus builds an immunity to judgment that no affirmation or theory can provide. Think of Galileo, who faced the scorn of the masses but changed the course of science forever. When he championed heliocentrism, he didn't merely face disagreement. He confronted the full force of religious doctrine and cultural consensus. The ridicule was relentless, the consequences severe. Yet he understood that truth doesn't require unanimous approval. History vindicates the courageous, not the conformist. The fundamental question is this: are you living to be applauded or to be fulfilled? These paths occasionally align, but frequently diverge. The road to authentic achievement often passes through valleys of criticism and misunderstanding. Applause comes easily for the familiar, the conventional, the expected, precisely what breakthroughs are not. Those who fear judgment most intensely often believe others think about them more than they actually do. The spotlight effect blinds you to a liberating truth. Most people are too consumed with their own journeys to catalog your stumbles or scrutinize your choices. Their judgment is fleeting, if it materializes at all. Would you rather drown in their opinions or sail toward your true north? The former guarantees spiritual death, a life lived through others' eyes. The latter promises the exhilaration of authentic experience, the full expression of your singular gift to this world. Killing the fear of judgment doesn't mean becoming deaf to feedback or blind to consequences. It means distinguishing between constructive input and irrelevant noise. It means recognizing when criticism stems from others' insecurities rather than your inadequacies. It means understanding that no significant life was ever lived without disappointing someone. The cage door has always been unlocked. You stay confined not by others' perceptions, but by your fear of them. Step out, create boldly, speak truthfully, live authentically. The judgment will come and it will pass. What remains will be a life lived on your terms, the only verdict that ultimately matters. Doubt is the silent killer. The weaker version of you is seduced by doubt. It whispers, "You're not ready, you're not worthy, you're not enough." But doubt is a cancer that eats potential from the inside out. You must treat it as your enemy. Doubt doesn't announce itself with sirens. It creeps in quietly, dressed as prudence and caution. It masquerades as wisdom, convincing you that hesitation is the same as careful consideration. This is its greatest deception, making you believe that paralysis is protection. The most dangerous aspect of doubt is how reasonable it sounds. It doesn't urge you toward obvious self-destruction. Instead, it suggests you wait just a little longer, prepare just a bit more, gather slightly more evidence before acting, and in this seemingly sensible delay, your dreams quietly suffocate. How do you combat this insidious force? Overwhelm it with action. Doubt cannot survive in the presence of momentum. It thrives in stillness, but dissolves in movement. When doubt says wait, you sprint. When your mind fills with reasons why your business might fail, launch it anyway. When your heart races at the thought of speaking your truth, speak it louder. When doubt says hide, you roar. Visibility is doubt's kryptonite. The moment you step into the light, showcasing your work, voicing your ideas, standing behind your convictions, doubt loses its shadowy hiding places. It cannot survive exposure to reality. Consider the Wright brothers, mocked for believing man could fly, yet they built wings while others mocked. They faced not only their own internal doubts, but the collective skepticism of society. Experts dismissed their efforts as foolish. Newspapers ridiculed their attempts, yet they continued building, testing, failing, and refining. Had they yielded to doubt, their own or others', human flight might have been delayed by decades. This pattern repeats throughout history. Every breakthrough first appeared impossible until someone refused to be paralyzed by doubt. The 4-minute mile, space travel, revolutionary technologies, all required moving forward through walls of uncertainty. How many miracles in your life have been aborted by doubt? Count them. The business you never started, the relationship you never pursued, the skill you never developed, the risk you never took. Each represents not just a missed opportunity, but an alternative version of you that never came to be. Doubt doesn't just steal achievements, it steals identity. It prevents you from becoming who you might have been. This is its true devastation. Not just what you fail to do, but who you fail to become. Are you ready to crush the serpent of hesitation and fly? This requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of treating doubt as a warning to be heeded, recognize it as resistance to be overcome. Its very presence often signals that you're pushing boundaries, growing beyond comfortable limitations. Develop a reflexive response to doubt. Immediate action. When uncertainty strikes, do the very thing you're uncertain about. Train yourself to interpret doubt not as a red light, but as a green one, a signal to accelerate, not brake. This doesn't mean acting recklessly or without preparation. It means recognizing when adequate preparation has become excessive, when prudence has become procrastination, when caution has become cowardice. Execution exposes doubt for what it truly is, mostly imaginary. The monsters in the dark disappear when you turn on the light. Similarly, the catastrophes doubt predicts rarely materialize in reality. Your life's trajectory will be determined not by the opportunities you're given, but by your response to the doubt that accompanies them. Will you be seduced by its whispers, or will you move forward despite them? Will you allow internal hesitation to dictate external results? The antidote to doubt is decision followed by action. Decide who you will be. Act accordingly. Let doubt scream while you build your wings and fly. Victory belongs to the perseverers. The weak self quits too soon. It sees obstacles as omens. But greatness was never reserved for the sprinters. It belongs to the marathoners. Perseverance is your sword and shield. In a world fixated on instant results, we've lost the ancient wisdom that triumph requires tenacity. We celebrate overnight successes while ignoring the years of persistence that preceded their sudden appearance. We admire the summit without honoring the climb. This cultural blindness has created generations who abandon their pursuits at the first sign of resistance. True victory is not won in moments of inspiration, but in moments of continuation when every instinct screams, "Stop," but you forge ahead anyway. The decisive factor in achievement is not talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but simply the refusal to surrender when surrender seems rational. How to wield perseverance. Commit to outlasting every setback. Make this your unbreakable vow that you will remain standing when everyone else has fallen away. Problems persist until your persistence exceeds theirs. The obstacle exists not to block your path, but to test your worthiness of the reward that lies beyond it. Stand firm when storms howl. The fiercest tempests separate the resolute from the retreaters. While others seek shelter, you must learn to steady yourself within the gale. This stability comes not from avoiding difficulty, but from developing an internal anchor that holds fast regardless of external conditions. Move forward when your feet bleed. Physical and emotional pain are inevitable companions on any worthwhile journey. The masters understand that pain is not a signal to stop, but information to process while continuing. Your capacity to advance despite discomfort directly predicts your ultimate success. The majority abandon their dreams far too early, often just steps before breakthrough. They mistake temporary defeat for permanent failure, failing to recognize that victory often hides behind the very next effort. Like miners who drill 99 feet without finding gold and quit just 1 foot away from the vein, they leave their treasures forever buried. Will you allow a single no to cancel your destiny? The universe tests your resolve through rejection, failure, and delay. These are not punishments but qualifiers, filters that separate the determined from the dilettante. When you encounter resistance, recognize it as an opportunity to prove your commitment, not as evidence of your inadequacy. Or will you decide that nothing, absolutely nothing, has permission to make you quit? This declaration establishes an unbreakable contract with yourself. It shifts perseverance from occasional choice to fundamental identity. You no longer try to persevere, you become a perseverer. Someone for whom continuation is as natural as breathing. The weak abandon ship when waves crash against the hull. The strong repair the damage while maintaining course. The extraordinary recognize the storm itself as part of the journey, not a deviation from it, but an essential element of it. Your legacy will be determined not by how brilliantly you begin, but by how stubbornly you continue. When talent fails, when luck turns, when motivation wanes, perseverance remains. It is the quality that transmutes dreams from ethereal possibilities into tangible reality. Victory awaits not the talented, not the privileged, not the perfect, but the persevering. Choose to be among them. Vision without action is hallucination. Dreaming is easy, building is rare. The weaker self dreams vividly, but acts feebly. Vision without movement is self-delusion. You must marry imagination with execution. Our minds are magnificent architects, constructing elaborate futures in stunning detail. The business empire, the transformed body, the masterpiece creation. We can see it, feel it, almost touch it in our imagination. And in this vivid mental experience lies both power and peril. The power comes from clarity of purpose. the peril from the false sense of progress that visualization alone provides. The dangerous comfort of imagination seduces many. They mistake mental rehearsal for actual performance, confuse intention with implementation. They speak eloquently about what they will do someday, while that day perpetually recedes into the horizon. They collect inspiration but never convert it to perspiration. The result, dreams that age into regrets. How do you bridge this critical gap between vision and reality? Break the dream into daily steps and attack them with military precision. Grand visions overwhelm, their magnitude paralyzes, but when disassembled into daily actions, concrete, immediate, measurable, they become conquerable. The manuscript becomes today's 500 words. The business becomes today's 3 sales calls. The transformation becomes today's disciplined choices. This daily discipline requires treating commitments to yourself with the same reverence you would commitments to others. You would not casually cancel on your boss or client. Extend the same professional courtesy to your dreams. Schedule non-negotiable appointments with your vision, protected from the invasion of urgent but unimportant demands. Think of Florence Nightingale, who envisioned better hospitals, then rolled up her sleeves and changed the world of medicine. She did not merely conceptualize improved healthcare. She entered the squalor of military hospitals during the Crimean War, scrubbing floors, changing bandages, and meticulously documenting conditions. Her vision remained fixed, but her hands got dirty. She translated statistics into compelling visualizations that persuaded officials to implement reforms. Her methods reduced mortality rates from 42%, not through inspiration alone, but through relentless methodical execution. Your dream does not care about how beautiful it looks in your mind. It demands proof through sweat. The universe responds not to intentions, but to actions. The market rewards not plans, but products. History remembers not those who conceived great ideas, but those who manifested them into reality. The implementation gap separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Both groups envision bright futures. The latter group builds them, brick by brick, day by day. They understand that vision provides direction, but only action provides distance. Will you be a dreamer or a doer? This question forces a confrontation with self-honesty. The dreamer enjoys the pleasure of possibility without the pain of execution. The doer sacrifices temporary comfort for lasting achievement. The dreamer speaks impressively at dinner parties. The doer speaks through result. Will your vision remain a ghost or become flesh and blood? Ghosts are intangible, weightless, without impact. They pass through the world, leaving no mark. Your materialized vision, however, the actual business, the completed book, the transformed relationship, exerts real force. It affects lives. It outlasts you. The choice between hallucination and creation occurs daily, in small moments. The alarm clock owed or ignored. The difficult conversation held or avoided. The comfort zones expanded or protected. These seemingly minor decisions compound into the difference between dreams deferred and dreams delivered. Your vision deserves better than permanent residence in the realm of imagination. Give it the gift of existence. Pull it from the ethereal into the actual through disciplined, consistent action. Create it, not just conceive it. The world doesn't need more beautiful dreams. It needs more dreamers who build. Waiting is a habit, one of the deadliest. Waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, the ideal conditions. These are illusions that paralyze greatness. You must declare war on waiting. The human mind excels at manufacturing reasons for delay. We convince ourselves that tomorrow will somehow provide what today lacks. More knowledge, more resources, more confidence, more clarity. Yet when tomorrow arrives, it brings new excuses for further postponement. This self-deception creates a perpetual holding pattern where life's most meaningful endeavors never leave the runway. What appears as prudent patience is often fear disguised as wisdom. We tell ourselves we're preparing, strategizing, waiting for optimal conditions, when in reality we're simply avoiding the discomfort of uncertainty and the possibility of failure. This hesitation feels safe, but exacts a tremendous cost. Unrealized potential, untapped talent, unlived life. How do you break this deadly pattern? Start before you feel ready. Readiness is a myth perpetuated by those who wait forever. The truth is that no one feels completely prepared when beginning anything worthwhile. The sensation of readiness follows action. It does not precede it. Your capabilities expand through engagement, not contemplation. Begin while the ink of uncertainty is still wet. Perfectionists wait for absolute clarity before taking the first step. They demand guarantees that don't exist. Meanwhile, the achievers move forward with partial information, knowing that engagement with reality provides the feedback necessary for refinement. They understand that clarity emerges from movement, not from waiting for it to appear. Consider Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone while others were still thinking about it. While contemporaries conceptualized communication devices in theory, Bell was building prototypes, experimenting with vibrating reeds, testing electromagnetic transmitters. His famous words could never have been transmitted had he waited until all technical questions were answered before beginning his work. Movement creates clarity. The fog of uncertainty disperses not through contemplation, but through action. Each step taken reveals the next step, illuminating a path that was invisible from the starting point. The answers you seek aren't waiting in your mind, they're embedded in the process of doing. Action births opportunity. The universe responds not to intentions, but to motion. When you begin moving toward your goals, coincidences multiply, connections form, resources appear. These aren't mystical phenomena, but natural consequences of engagement with the world. Opportunities don't come to those who wait, they come to those already in motion. So answer me. How much longer will you wait? Count the days already lost to hesitation. Measure the opportunities already missed through delay. Calculate the growth already forfeited to tomorrow. The accounting is sobering. Until the grave, death does not arrive with an announcement giving you time to finally begin what you've postponed. It comes suddenly, indifferent to your unfulfilled intention. The cemetery is filled with unwritten books, unlaunched businesses, undeclared loves, all waiting for a perfect moment that never arrived, until the dream decays inside you. Dreams have expiration dates. They don't die suddenly but fade gradually, eroded by prolonged inaction, until they become mere ghosts of what might have been. The passion that once burned brightly dims to embers, then to ash. Or will you seize today with the violence of purpose and the hunger of destiny? This is the only question that matters. Purpose must be violent, not in harming others, but in breaking through your own resistance. Destiny must be hunted, not awaited. It demands pursuit with relentless urgency. The habit of waiting ends today, not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, not when you feel more confident. Today, the clock is ticking. The world is waiting. Your life is passing. Begin now. The weaker version of you demands applause and recognition at every step, but true character is not forged under the bright lights. It is built in the unseen hours, in the silent battles, in the lonely nights when no one is watching. We live in an age of performative achievement, where worth is measured in likes, shares, and public validation. We've been conditioned to believe that effort without acknowledgement is effort wasted. This deception has created generations seeking constant affirmation, perpetually sharing their journey while neglecting the depths that true transformation requires. Character is built in the darkness, in those moments when no external force compels you forward except your own internal one. It forms in the pre-dawn workouts when your bed still calls to you. It develops in the extra hours of practice when your competitors have gone home. It crystallizes in the ethical choices made when no one would ever discover your compromise. How do you strengthen it? Stay faithful when no reward is promised. The amateur works for immediate compensation, recognition, praise, monetary gain. The master works for the work itself, finding fulfillment in the quiet satisfaction of excellence pursued. His loyalty to purpose rather than praise separates those who make lasting impact from those who create temporary impressions. Build when no applause is given. The foundation of every great achievement lies beneath the surface, invisible to admirers. These unglamorous, unwitnessed efforts determine what your visible success will eventually support. The depth of your foundation determines the height of your achievement. Consider Abraham Lincoln, who suffered defeat after defeat, yet each private loss sculpted him into the leader who would save a nation. Before becoming president, Lincoln endured business failure, electoral defeats, the death of his sweetheart, and a nervous breakdown. He spent countless hours educating himself by candlelight, developing his mind and character away from public view. These unseen struggles weren't mere obstacles to his destiny. They were its essential ingredient. Each private hardship chiseled away weakness, leaving the marble of character that history now reveres. The darkest periods of your life aren't punishment, they're preparation. They reveal what you're truly made of when stripped of external validation. Will you crumble when no one applauds, or will you continue building? Will the absence of recognition extinguish your effort, or will you find sustenance in a purpose that transcends validation? Will you only work when praised, or will you grind when the world sleeps? This question exposes the source of your motivation. External motivation waxes and wanes with circumstances. Internal motivation endures regardless of conditions. The former makes you a conditional contributor. The latter makes you an unstoppable force. Will you be gold, refined by fire, or wax that melts when the heat rises? Gold emerges from fire, more pure, more valuable, its impurities burned away. Wax cannot withstand the same conditions. It loses form, becomes unrecognizable. The difference isn't in the intensity of the fire, but in the nature of the material. The same adversity that destroys one character tempers another. The world is filled with those who shine briefly under favorable conditions. Rare are those who develop the capacity to generate light in darkness. Cultivate this rarity. Build your character not for display, but for durability. Not to impress, but to endure. True achievement happens in shadow before it happens in light. Let others chase applause while you chase excellence. Let them build their image while you build your character. The former fades with changing fashion. The latter stands when everything else falls. Remember, the depths to which you've been tested in darkness determine the heights to which you can rise in light. In a world overflowing with distractions, your greatest asset is not your intelligence or even your time. It is your attention. The scattered version of yourself moves aimlessly through life, pulled in countless directions by the tyranny of the urgent, never establishing dominion over what truly matters. Your attention is the currency of your existence. Where you direct it determines what grows in your life and what withers away. This is not mysticism, it is the practical reality of how human development works. The mind that wanders without discipline resembles a garden untended. Weeds overtake what could have been bountiful. Meanwhile, concentrated attention transforms ordinary skills into extraordinary capabilities. The violin player who practices with complete presence for 2 hours achieves more than another who practices for 5 while mentally elsewhere. Nikola Tesla, a beacon of innovation, intimately understood a profound truth. While others allowed themselves to be sidetracked by fleeting diversions, he committed himself to his work with unyielding intensity. His monumental breakthroughs weren't merely a product of superior intellect, but rather an extraordinary capacity for focus. He keenly observed that the mind achieves its sharpest insights in moments of solitude and uninterrupted concentration. This kind of laser-like attention isn't just for scientific genius, it's the very wellspring of excellence in every aspect of your life, your relationships, your creative pursuits, and your personal evolution. Marriages don't fracture from catastrophic events, but from the slow erosion of chronic inattention. Books remain unwritten, not from a scarcity of time, but from a fragmented focus. And genuine transformation eludes us, not because we lack potential, but because we allow our vital energy to be dispersed too thinly across a myriad of concerns. To truly seize back your attention, you must embrace a ruthless prioritization. It's time to accept that you simply cannot do everything. Your calendar in its stark honesty reveals this truth. Every yes to one opportunity inherently means a no to another. Make these choices with conscious intent rather than allowing life to dictate your path. Guard your attention as fiercely as a monarch protects their most precious treasure. Create impenetrable boundaries around your focus. Dedicate specific periods to deep work where no distractions can penetrate your concentration. Learn the art of delivering small disappointments now to prevent far greater regrets later. The very quality of your future is a direct reflection of how deliberately you channel your energy today. Every moment of focused attention compounds, building towards mastery, while a scattered mind remains perpetually stuck at the starting line. When you feel the familiar pull of resistance against important work, recognize this as the critical moment. Lean into that discomfort. The remarkable ability to redirect your wandering mind back to what truly matters is a muscle that strengthens with every conscious effort. Ask yourself daily, where is my attention truly going? The authentic answer will illuminate your genuine priorities, regardless of what you profess to value. If the chasm between your stated aspirations and your actual focus disturbs you, this very awareness is the first crucial step toward profound alignment. Will you allow your finite energy to bleed into a multitude of meaningless pursuits, scattering yourself across the trivial many? Or will you channel it with unwavering precision into the vital few endeavors that will forge a life of profound purpose and lasting impact? This choice is renewed with each rising sun, each passing hour. Your attention remains the most powerful force you command. Direct it with unwavering wisdom. Forgiveness is liberation. Resentment is a self-made prison, its walls constructed from bitter memories, each reinforced by every relived slight. The weaker version of you languishes in this cell, polishing grievances, foolishly mistaking this obsession for strength. You replay past hurts, sharpening pain into a false sense of purpose, believing this vigilance somehow keeps you safe. But look closer. These chains bind only you. Your unforgiveness tethers you to a past with unbreakable bonds. While you might imagine yourself the warden, you are, in truth, the prisoner. Every moment spent in this emotional dungeon is a moment tragically stolen from your future. The person who wronged you has likely moved forward, yet you remain frozen in that moment of injury, continually drinking from the poisoned well of what happened then. The universe operates by an unexpected law. Holding on to wrongs committed against you punishes no one but yourself. The crushing weight of unforgiveness stifles potential, narrows your vision, and diverts energy that could fuel your greatness into maintaining ancient battlefields long after the war has ended. Consider Nelson Mandela, who endured 27 years of unjust imprisonment. If anyone earned the right to hatred, surely it was he. Yet upon his release, Mandela chose a radically different path. He famously declared, "As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." This was not weakness, it was an act of strategic brilliance. By refusing to be consumed by justified rage, Mandela freed not only himself but an entire nation. Forgiveness is not about excusing the inexcusable or denying justice. It is about refusing to allow those who harmed you to retain control over your emotional life. It is about reclaiming sovereignty over your internal landscape. The offense itself may remain unpardonable, but you need not remain its captive. Begin by acknowledging the full, raw weight of what was done. Sanitizing real harm serves no one. Feel the depth of your pain without judgment. Then grasp this fundamental truth. Continuing to carry this burden diminishes only you. Those who hurt you cannot restore what was taken, but you can prevent them from taking more. Forgiveness unfolds in layers. It is rarely a singular event, but rather a courageous practice, a decision remade each time old memories resurface. In those moments, gently remind yourself, I release this not because they deserve it, but because I deserve freedom. This path demands a courage few truly recognize. There is nothing passive about true forgiveness. It is active, deliberate, and often profoundly difficult. But with each act of releasing a grievance, energy previously consumed by resentment becomes available for growth, creativity, and purpose. Imagine yourself at life's end. Looking back, will you see decades spent guarding old injuries, fueling conflicts that could have been laid to rest? Or will you see a life marked by the courage to release what cannot be changed, thereby creating expansive space for what can be? Your greatness awaits beyond the walls of unforgiveness. Every moment spent nurturing old wounds is a moment stolen from your destiny. The choice before you is not whether others deserve forgiveness. It is whether you deserve the liberation that comes with letting go. Will you remain shackled to the past, a mere curator of collected injury? Or will you, like Mandela, walk through the gates of forgiveness into the open terrain of possibility that beckons? The keys to your liberation have always been in your hand. Slay the need for validation. The hunger for approval is humanity's most ancient addiction. The weaker version of you constructs entire days around it, meticulously rehearsing humble boasts, strategically revealing accomplishments like bait on a hook. Each fleeting compliment, each impressed glance delivers a momentary hit of dopamine that temporarily quiets the gnawing question beneath it all. Am I enough? But this validation is counterfeit currency. No amount will ever truly fill the void, because external approval is designed to evaporate, leaving you empty-handed and craving more. The cycle is relentless. You achieve, you display, you receive fleeting validation, and then you return to the hunger, often more desperate than before. True power emerges only when you sever this crippling dependency. The individual who no longer needs the world's affirmation becomes unstoppable. They make decisions unclouded by how they'll be perceived. They pursue what genuinely matters, not what merely impresses. They speak their truth without calculating its reception. This profound independence is the very bedrock of authentic achievement. Breaking this addiction begins with brutal self-honesty. Examine your core motivation. Are you striving to create something truly worthy, or are you merely seeking to be seen creating something worthy? Are you helping others because it genuinely matters, or because it strategically positions you as virtuous? Are you pursuing goals that resonate deeply within your soul, or goals that will simply command respect when announced at social gatherings? Commit to principles that would hold meaning even if no one on earth ever knew you held them. Cultivate a competence that stands entirely independent of external recognition. When your identity is anchored in purpose rather than fleeting perception, the opinions of others lose all gravitational pull. Consider the anonymous builders of civilization's greatest marvels, the skilled craftsmen who laid stones for cathedrals they would never live to see completed, the visionary architects of ancient Rome, whose foundations still stand 2 millennia later. They worked without cameras, without social platforms, without the possibility of viral recognition. Their validation sprang from an unwavering alignment with purpose and an absolute commitment to excellence in execution. The work itself was enough. Practical steps emerge from this profound historical example. Start by practicing private excellence. Do superb work where no one will ever notice. Clean meticulously behind furniture that will never be moved. Write journal entries with the same care you'd give a published work, knowing no one will ever read them. Master skills without broadcasting your progress. Next, impose a validation fast. Intentionally delay sharing your achievement. Allow compliments to sit without immediately feeling the need to reciprocate. Post nothing purely for the sake of reaction. Feel the discomfort this creates and recognize it for what it is: withdrawal from a powerful drug. Then redirect that liberated energy toward depth, deep work, deep relationships, deep self-acknowledgement. As you diligently build a life of genuine substance, a strange paradox will emerge. The less you need validation, the more genuine respect will naturally flow toward you. People instinctively sense the difference between those performing for approval and those simply embodying their truth. This profound transformation isn't completed in a single day. The addiction is deeply ingrained, woven through your neurology and psychology since childhood. But with each conscious choice to act from integrity rather than impression management, its suffocating hold weakens. Ask yourself, are you building to impress, or are you building to endure? Are you creating a life of substance, or merely a meticulously crafted appearance of one? What would you continue doing if no one ever noticed or praised you for it again? When you kill the need for validation, you finally begin to live without performance. You step into the arena not to be seen, but to contribute something truly real. And in that raw authenticity lies a power no amount of external validation could ever provide. The time is now. The weaker self, that voice of hesitation, whispers, later. But the champion within you roars, now. Time is the ultimate equalizer. It holds no regard your intentions. Only your actions matter. How will you seize it? Act today. Move today. Build today. There will be no perfect timing, only this precious imperfect moment. Recall Joan of Arc, a teenage girl who embraced her destiny by charging into battle when wiser voices urged her to wait. Your future is not a distant tomorrow. It is forged in this very decision, right now. So I ask you, what are you truly waiting for? Annihilate hesitation. Strike decisively. The clock is relentlessly ticking, and history is watching. If you are truly ready to rise above your self-imposed limits, to crush every doubt, and to claim your authentic power, then begin your transformation today. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for the elusive perfect moment. The weak version of you will endlessly fabricate excuses. The strong version takes action. Decide now. Step up. Become who you were always destined to be.